Ben Bierce here with Revelation Cellular Forensic. Today I want to talk about protocol considerations for phone exams. Imagine we have a case where we'd like to take a look and see what's inside the opposition's phone. The judge agrees and has ordered the examination of the phone, but now we need to establish the protocol on how we're going to examine that phone. And the protocol must be agreed upon by the opposition or at least the judge. Each case is a little bit different, so each protocol will likely be a little bit different. Also, each court is different, and some judges may expect things that others don't. There are some elements of the protocol that will be dictated by best practices in the industry. You can rely on your expert to help you navigate this part. The purpose of this video is to give you some things to think about when you're preparing a protocol. Let's take a look at a few example scenarios. In these scenarios, we'll say the defendant's phone is the evidence device to be examined. Of course, the plaintiff's phone could be the device to be examined, but in most of the cases that I've worked on, it's been the defendant's phone. The first scenario is one expert and no protocol. In this scenario, the plaintiff has an expert, but the defense does not, and the defense has not objected and hasn't set any limitations on the examination. This one's easy. The defendant can surrender the phone to defendant's counsel, who can transfer it to plaintiff's counsel, who can ship it to the expert. The expert can extract a forensic image at the time and place of his or her choosing, and then ship the phone back to plaintiff's counsel, and it can be returned to the defendant. Then the expert can examine the forensic image at his or her convenience and produce reports without restriction. Our next scenario is one expert with limited production. This scenario is basically the same as the first scenario, except that the defense is limiting the production to a certain time frame and maybe even protecting certain privileged information. The expert cannot limit the forensic image to certain time frames or exclude protected information, but he can limit what is produced in the reports. The next scenario is two experts with one extraction. In this scenario, both the defense and plaintiff have experts. The defense expert extracts a forensic image from the device and either provides reports to the plaintiff or provides the forensic image to the plaintiffs. This can be done remotely or at an agreed upon time and place where both experts are present. In a case like this, both experts must have access to the same forensic tool. For example, I use the Cellular Universal Forensic Extraction Device, or UFED. There are others out there, like Oxygen, XRY, and many others. If the defense's expert uses a UFED to extract the forensic image, the plaintiff's expert may not be able to open that image if he or she is using a different tool. If you are plaintiff's counsel in a case like this, I strongly recommend that you argue for the entire forensic image and not just the reports. The next scenario is two experts and two extractions. In this case, the two experts meet at an agreed upon place and time, and each does their own extraction. The location could be one attorney's office or one expert's office or a neutral location. Both experts would bring their own equipment and obtain their own forensic images from the device. The experts would then take those extractions back to their offices and examine the forensic image at their convenience. In this case, the forensics experts would not necessarily have to have the same tool. Now let's look at the issues to consider when we're preparing our protocol. I've created a checklist you can download, and I'll put the links in the description. The first is contact your expert when you're preparing the protocol. He or she will be familiar with the best practices and help you apply them to your case. Next is a non-disclosure agreement. Consider a non-disclosure agreement. This may make your client feel more comfortable about handing over his or her phone. This is especially true if there's privileged or potentially embarrassing information on the phone. The next consideration is how the phone is to be preserved prior to the examination. In the protocol, provide guidance on how the phone is to be preserved. I recommend that the user stop using the phone as soon as a preservation letter is sent, I have a blog post on how information may be unintentionally deleted by the user during normal operation. I'll put the link in the description. The next consideration is how the phone will be provided to the expert, or the chain of custody. Maintain a chain of custody, and if there's only one expert, it might look like this: from the defendant to the defendant's counsel, from defendant's counsel to the plaintiff's counsel, and from plaintiff's counsel by FedEx to plaintiff's expert. Returning the phone would be the reverse. If there are multiple experts and the extractions are to be done at a certain time, then the user's counsel can bring the phone to the extraction, provide it to the experts, and then when they're finished, they can return it to the user's counsel. Next, consider the location of the extraction. If there's only one expert, then it can be done at the expert's office. If there are more than one expert, and the extractions are to be done at the same time, list in the protocol the time, date, and place where the extractions are going to occur. This location could be one attorney's office, one expert office, or a neutral location like the court's conference room. The next consideration is the date or time frame of the extraction. In the case of multiple experts, consult all parties and make sure that you can find a time and date that works for everyone. If there is only one expert, then a no later than date would be appropriate to complete the extraction. The next consideration is the parties that are going to be present for the extraction. Sometimes attorneys like to be present for the extraction. If one of the attorneys shows an interest in being at the location for the extraction, I recommend that an attorney from the opposing party is present as well. If there's only one expert and the extraction is to be done at the expert's office, then this really isn't an issue for the protocol. Tools to use for the forensic image. Contact your expert and see what tool he prefers to use for an extraction. Then contact the opposition's expert and find out what tools they prefer. Hopefully there will be a tool in common. If not, have the experts speak to each other, so hopefully they can find some common ground. Your expert should not be limited to one tool, but having tools in common with the other experts should be considered. The next consideration is what parties are going to be able to retain a copy of the forensic image. If only one expert is to perform the extraction, find agreement with the opposition as to who will maintain copies of the forensic image. The next consideration is the location of the examination of the forensic image. If both experts are present for the extraction, but only one expert is authorized to maintain a copy of the forensic image, then the opposition may want their expert present at the time of the examination of the forensic image. The easiest way to schedule this is to go straight from the extraction to the examination. The next consideration is what parties are going to be present for the examination of the forensic image. Just like with the extraction, if the attorneys want to be present, make sure that there are attorneys present from both sides. The next consideration is the limitation of privileged information in the report. If the party representing the user of the phone wants to limit what information can be reproduced in a report, then make sure that's agreed upon in the protocol before the reports are produced. The next consideration is who receives a copy of the report. The expert should provide copies of the report to his client, the attorney. From there, the attorney can submit copies of the report to the court, and the opposition can obtain copies of the report from the court. You can follow your normal procedure for dissemination of reports, but I don't recommend having your expert directly provide copies of the report to the opposition. The next consideration is a timeline, or no later than dates. This will help ensure that the project continues without delays. Start with a report due date and then work backwards. Consult your expert to find reasonable time frames for each step of the process and then add a little buffer. The next consideration is who maintains custody of the evidence device after the extraction is completed. If the user is present for the extraction and you don't intend to keep the phone as evidence, then it can go straight back to the user at that point. Other possibilities are the expert, the attorney for the user, or the court maintains it until trial date. The last consideration is if and when all copies of the forensic image are to be deleted from the expert's files. Almost all of our phones have some kind of confidential or potentially embarrassing information on them. This could be banking information or pictures taken during that night of overindulgence. You can have a deletion date written into your protocol. Just get with your expert and make sure that that time frame is reasonable. Now, in conclusion, these considerations are not all-inclusive. Every jurisdiction, every court is a little bit different. Your judge may want something that another judge may not want, and you're more familiar with that than I am. Also, make sure to include your expert when you're developing the protocol. I hope you find these recommendations valuable, and if you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me. You can find my contact information on my website, revforensics.com. I'll have a link in the description below. Thanks and have a great day.